Alright guys, so how's it going today? So, we're going to do a little video here of, well, we're going to go back in time. I got a little, just, I don't know, a little bit of a story, and then I got a picture that I kind of want to share, and I guess I'll have to edit it on the computer, but, it's a picture of a good chunk of this town back in 1954. So that's how far back we're going with this picture. But I thought it was kind of a neat picture because, well, there is a Facebook page for our town. There used to be like 2 of them, but there's only 1 now. And that one is usually just of the history of this town. And there used to be a girl that lived here, or she grew up here, I guess, but then she moved away. She's not all that far away. She just kind of, moved a little bit south and then got married and whatever else. But she's kind of obsessed with this town. Anything that has to do with this town, she likes to know about it, and she likes to post about it on her Facebook page that she supposedly, I think she runs it, but it's of our town and whatever else. So, but it was kind of interesting because a lot has changed since 1954, but then kind of in a way, it really hasn't. It has, but it hasn't. And I've told this story before, but I'll have to show it in pictures, or I'll have to talk about it and then show you a picture of it. But we're going to talk about my land, right here, this little bit of property that I'm standing on. If you guys... Maybe some of you guys would have known if you've watched my videos long enough, that before this house was put here, there used to be a church here. And it used to sit, I think, pretty much right where, not quite where the house is at, but it's kind of more off to the left. That's what it looks like in the picture. It was kind of off a little bit. But you'll see it in the picture. I'll mark it with something or whatever to show, what my property is today, compared to, when that church was there. So you kind of get a rough idea of, where the house is. Well, you guys know where the house is standing at now, but you guys will be able to see where the church used to be at. Now, that used to be a church, and then it used to be another building for something else, but I don't remember what the girl said, but it was a church before it was retired, and then they moved the church over to the North Dakota side in that town over there, and then somebody from the other town where my bank is at, they bought the building, and then they had the building hauled over there. So then this ended up just becoming an empty lot. Well, then the old lady and her husband, and this was back in the 70s, they bought this property, they put the house on it, and then they put this building here, and then that's what we have today. So, but it was kind of weird to see, because even back in 1954, the school that's here across the street from me obviously did not exist. Wish it kind of still was that way today. And then there was no mail business there. Like there was up until, I'm not sure when they put it in. What is it, the USPS or whatever, the regular mail system, they weren't there until, so whenever, I don't know, I didn't get that far into it, but they closed that business down, the mail, I think when I was just a little, little kid. So, but I remember the sign being up on the building and everything. But then that got shut down, and then the building kind of just got abandoned. And then, yeah, then these fuckheads here bought it, and then they turned that into part of the school, and now it's all just one big building, pretty much. So, but that wasn't there. That was a empty lot as well until whenever they decided to put the mail system there, and then, then they got rid of that. So, and then it became theirs. So, but what's kind of interesting is the picture is just big enough to where you can see the old bridge. The old bridge used to be, and I've told you guys this for years. Where you see the bridge over there now next to our property, that was not there until the 80s sometime. And that's when they 80s or 90s, somewhere around in there. Then that old bridge that used to be here, they tore it down, buried it, and then they put that one in. And the reason why they did that was because they wanted to divert traffic out of this town. So they no longer wanted all that traffic, and it was busy, here on this main road, even more than now. So you had all your big trucks and cars and everything. That's how you got into North Dakota, was you would drive literally right in front of my house. Even though my house wasn't there until the 70s. So, but then like I said, they tore the bridge down, I think because it was getting old, and they wanted to divert traffic anyway. So then they built the highway over here, and then where the bridge sits over there now, supposedly that was our land as well. But then the state bought it because they wanted to build a bridge there, because they wanted to get traffic out of town. So that's what they did. They bought that little bit of land from my great-grandparents, built their bridge. So, but I don't remember when exactly the great-grandparents started farming. I thought it was in the 1920s, but it might have been a little bit later than that, given they were only born, I think, I can't remember now, but I know I found an old article in my stash of paperwork from when they were born. And I think it was either the great-grandma or the great-grandpa. Somebody was born in 1914, and then somebody else was born in a different year. But I don't know exactly when they, got married and decided to start running this farm, but it was, I imagine, in the 20s, or, well, could have been in the 30s when they really started getting after it. But you can see it in the pictures anyway. You can see how our land looked back in 1954, and I'm pretty damn sure at that time that's when he was at full go with raising cattle. So at that time they were raising dairy cattle. They weren't raising beef cattle like we are, because back then dairy was a big thing, and even though we didn't have that many dairy cows, they still did it, and they had enough to keep for themselves, and then they always sold some too. So, but yeah, and then I think there used to be a place somewhere, I don't remember exactly, but I think it would have been where the old Polaris dealer was at, the one that I got into a fight with a few years ago. I think there used to be a milk processing plant there, where they would process your milk. He would bring them however many gallons, and then they would process it, and there you go. So, but like I said, they did keep some for themselves. So, But you can see now it's obviously has changed a lot over the years, and I wish it would go back to the way it was. The only way it would get remotely back to the way it was if the ex-mayor was willing to sell his land back to me. That's the only way it would work. And that land that we're renting from him now, that we put our cows on, that used to be ours back in the day. So I'm thinking the fencing that's running along the old barbed wire fencing must have been his back in the day. Because I think he had all of this opened. And I don't know if flooding was much of a problem back then or not, because I don't think we really had much of a dike, if anything at all, back in those days. So I don't really know how it all works. Obviously, I can't talk to anybody that was around in those times, because they're probably either just so old now that they don't remember shit, or they're dead. So, but when they first built the dike, they had the dike literally on our land. And then they said, well, this isn't going to work. I don't know, it was putting too much stress on the dike because it was, I think, too close to the river. And then it was just inconvenient for how the great-grandparents were farming the land, so it just wasn't going to work. So we all came to an agreement, and then this is what we have today. The dike goes through the center of our land, but it leaves all our hay ground out underwater, but then it leaves the pastures, the main pasture, the yards, the houses and stuff like that. That's inside the dike, so it can't get wet, That's what's inside the dike. So, but the land and everything stayed on the outside of the dike. That's what they sacrificed to go underwater, which it doesn't hurt it. As long as it doesn't stay in the water too long, it'll never hurt it. But like I said, I'll have to draw a line to kind of show how it was back in 1854. That's kind of how our land was. And I don't know if we owned that little bit of land where the pond is at, where the ex-mayor owns. The ex-mayor owns, I think, that little pond. But that was never really there before either. They started digging there because that's where they were going to dig dirt from to raise the dike. Because it wasn't high enough at the time, and they were scared that it was going to go over. So they were going to do a temporary thing, and then they were going to build a permanent one after that. Well, they were going to take dirt from there. I think that was supposed to be for the permanent setup. But then when they got, about halfway, they ran into the old bridge. So I guess that's where they buried it. So if that was our land back then, maybe it would have been, but then they would have buried that bridge on our property, if that was the way it was even back then. But see, as my great-grandparents retired from farming, they sold some land, which is this piece here, which I would love to get back, but I don't think he'd be ever willing to sell. And the way the prices of land are going today, you're probably talking at least 20 grand to even, I don't know how big that is. It's got to be smaller than 12 acres, because the hayfield that we have is 12 acres, and that's bigger than this. So this might only be like 5 acres, so I don't know. But I would like to have it back, because one, we could just pretty much do whatever the hell we want and don't have to bother anybody. I hate having to bother him all the time to get his permission to put our cows on it. If he would just sell it to us, well, then we never have to ask him again. We don't have to bother him. And two, it did belong in the family at one time, so it kind of needs to come back. But I don't have that kind of money, and who knows when I'll get that kind of money. But yeah, it needs to come back in the land, that's for sure. Or it needs to come back in the family. So, about what are you going to do? Stinking turkeys are all over the frickin' road. This guy over here is feeding our wildlife, and they hang out on the frickin' roads, and they don't get out of their way unless you run them over. Stupid. But whatever. So, but you don't see the whole entire land of our land, or what used to be some of our land. You only see maybe about half of it, if even that. So, like I said, I'll outline what was ours and then what is ours today. Whatever. It used to be our land, all of it, but now, like I said, the great-grandparents sold some of it back in the 90s, or probably even in the 80s. I don't know exactly when they retired, but they did retire, so, obviously. But it was kind of it was a pretty interesting picture because, that is the closest, by far, that's the best picture I've seen so far, going back so many years. And this was well before I was even born, right? So, I don't know how things were back in the 50s. I wasn't around for that. So, all I can tell you is how it is today, and it needs to change again. We need to get some ground back. That's what we need to do. But I don't know. Maybe he'd be willing to sell, at some point. But he says that he wants to work it up and plant hay in it or grass. But why even bother? I mean, just it's pretty much free grass for our cows, and it has helped us quite a bit. I mean, we still have more ground that we could put them on, but the rest of it is pretty much hay ground, and we want that for hay. Once we cut it and bale it and let it grow back a little bit, we might be all right. We could shove them out there. The young guy says just push them out there, and then he says just to not even bother fencing off. He says just to go out there with the 4-wheeler, and then maybe the pickup or something, and then just sit out there. And he says let them roam for a couple hours. And then as they start to wander off, you can just push them back in line again with one of the machines. And then there you go. So, but I don't know. It's just, we got enough ground for right now that we could, if we had to do it, if we had to go out a little bit, we could. But, going into the ex-mayor's field here, it has helped us a lot. And I hope that he continues to let us do it going into the future. And maybe one day he'll just sell me the land back. I would like to buy it back. So, because I don't think he's ever going to do anything with it. And there's no sense of ripping it up and planting grass in it, and then what are you going to do with it? Like, you're not going to mow all that. He already mows so damn much already, and then he mows a lot of roadside ditches for the town and stuff like that. So he's got, he's got enough to mow. And I got enough to mow as it is, so let our cows have it. At least our cows are a free mowing system. We don't, so they just eat it and it disappears. And then they fertilize it. So, but yeah, I just thought it'd be kind of neat to show you guys that. How things kind of were back then. Like I said, the old bridge is there. It's not there anymore now, obviously. And then my house wasn't here. There used to be a church here, which you can see that in a picture. I mean, you see the roof line. It's almost like somebody took it with a Google map. You know how Google Maps are, or with the satellite dishes? It's almost like somebody that did that with a satellite dish, way up in space. But I think it was done by an airplane or something, they were just way up there. So, but yeah, it would have been, it definitely would have been interesting to see what this town was like back in the 50s. This town used to be, supposedly, from what I'm seeing and hearing, is that this town used to be a pretty busy town. Like, it was, like it was actually going to go places. But then certain things changed, and then people left, you know, so now it's just like a little ghost town. There ain't really much here. It's not going to show up now, but right wherever the hell it is, fucking phone. Somewhere, I think it's right there, I think. Yeah. That used to be a school. And I believe mother, she went to that, I think. But then I think they shut it down and then they moved it further away. And then that was kind of it. So, I don't know, but it used to be a school anyway. And then, of course, then it got shut down. And then I think somebody bought it. And then all I remember is that there was this guy living in it. He lived in it for many years. And not only did he live there, but he also had a small engine repair shop there too. He also worked on small engines. So, because I remember when he was living there, I think something happened to the snowblower, and my uncle couldn't fix it, so they took it to him, and he fixed it, and then, yeah. But he don't live there anymore. Somebody else owns it now, and I think they're just more or less using it for storage. But the building needs to be rebuilt. It needs to be saved and turned back to what it was originally, a school. Not that it's ever going to be used as a school, but it really should be a landmark. I mean, every town and city has a landmark of some kind, and this town deserves at least one. So the school would be kind of a good place to start. You know, build it up, make it look new again, and then just show it off. You know, let people, people can pay $10 or $5, whatever, to take a tour of the place. You know, but unfortunately, it's been going to hell. Nobody's even maintaining it. That one window's completely fucking blown in. The side of the roof is kind of collapsed a little bit. Nobody's even bothering to fix it. But nobody here is going to really spend that kind of money to do that. But it kind of, I mean, I don't know. It would suck to lose it, but there's things on our farm too that we're losing. And that's a piece of history there too. Like the old barn. You know, Grandpa built that, that barn. And the big barn, the part where the roof, the big part of it, where it all caved in, that was the original barn. And then he added on to it a few years later, added that section that we're using now, which is also, it's still holding up, but the roof caved in for some reason, but yet the floor never caved. It'd still be the ceiling to us, but if you're up in there, it would be the floor. But yeah, but it's all still standing, but yet the roof, I don't know, must have just been overloaded with snow and it cracked something. But so I think if we really wanted to save that barn, we could probably hire somebody. They could build a new roof for it, for just that little section, and then kind of just from there fix it back up. But that barn is just, it's built very well, but it's just, it's outdated and it's just, I think we could still make it work. We would have to tweak it, obviously. Put a new roof on it so it can't leak anymore. Put new windows in it so they don't get air in them anymore and other weather crap. Get rid of what's left of the old wooden gate that was in there. That was for my pen. One of my uncle's cows destroyed it because she went psychopath on everybody and tried to jump it and smash it and whatever. She completely fucked it up. So replace that, put a metal gate in it, and you'd be perfectly fine again. But yeah, and then we had to make our own sliding door because the original one fell apart. So, but I don't know. If I had the money, I probably would hire somebody to maybe try to rebuild the old barn. But you might be better off just rebuilding new. So, And we could just simply get away with a pole barn. We don't need anything fancy, but you can still customize them quite a bit. Mostly just in the color. And what my grandpa's got going on here for this barn is that it's a red side, kind of like my building here. It's got red siding. But the roof is green. It has some kind of a green roof on it. Well, it's shingles, obviously, but it's more of a green color. Well, you can still kind of do that same setup today, but you can do it in tin. So that's what I would do if I was to get a new building put in or a new barn, is do red siding, white trim, or green trim, and a green roof. You know, so at least it would have some copy of Grandpa's old barn, you know, so to be still somewhat close to the original, but far from it. It'd be more up to date, you know. So, but yeah, there used to be 2 barns on there, on that farm. The other one, the black one, that caved in many years ago, and we just never got around to cleaning it up. That is on my to-do list, is to clean that up, unfortunately, and probably not going to put another one there again. I'll probably just let the grass grow, and then the cows can eat it. But it needs to get cleaned up. It would make the farm look a little bit neater. I finally got rid of one building, so it does look a little bit nicer. I got another building I want to work on. I got to clean that out because I want to use that for storage for my tractors. For the 1586's parts, you know, oil, filters, whatever. It's going to be my maintenance building or whatever. Or parts building, whatever. So, but I got to get all that old trash and shit out of it that nobody's looked at since the moon landing. So, but yeah, and then wouldn't mind also trying to recreate the other little building that the little tractor sat in. That was just an all white building, but I liked it because it was, you know, about what we needed, you know. The tractor would sit on one side, and the other side would be parts and tools and whatever. But then I also kind of like the old swing outdoors. Nobody really does that anymore. They do the roll-up type, which works as well. But if I could find somebody to rebuild, of course that building would be tweaked by a lot. The problem with this building here is that it's sitting on, it looks like it's almost sitting on some kind of a skid thing where, you know, you can slide it around, but it obviously has just been sinking into the ground because once they put it there, it sat there. But I think what they really were, though, they were just beams to hold the weight of the building. But then since it was put up on a beam, they built ramps, a wooden ramp, so they could drive the tractor in and out. I think I would just not do that. I would just put it directly on the ground and just have a gravel floor, but still have the same size building and then the folding outdoors and, you know, power and, you know, same color and everything, just white. So that would be kind of another nice thing. And of course the other building needs to get rebuilt too, the one that the 400 used to sit in. That one's also caving in, but that needs to be, it would have to be gone. Well, there's no saving that one. There's no saving any of these buildings because they've been let go. So, it's just, if I could get more cattle on this farm, you know, I probably could invest in more money towards it. But only having one cow, of course, I mean, that hopefully will change over the next couple of years, depending on what this cow will have this summer. If she has a bull, well, that's, you know, some money there, but that money is going into stuff over here. So I would have to have a lot of cattle to do what I need to do. And this farm is just so small that we're only going to be able to have so many. And there will be a day where my uncle retires, and then all his cows are going to become my cows because I'm just going to take over then. So then I would have grown all the quicker, you know, because I would have had more cattle. But I need cattle now, not 50 years down the road when I'm this close to retiring already. I might as well just retire then. So, but yeah, and especially the way buildings are, how expensive buildings are now today. I mean, to get in But I mean, for a pole barn, if we could get a guy here to look at our old one and try to recreate our old one, sliding doors, windows, stalls, stuff like that. If we could recreate all that in a newer version, I still think you're talking at least $15,000. But for that size of barn, it could be $20,000. But it would be, a good investment because, we could use a new barn. But you kind of have to have the cattle to even invest in that kind of a building. So you got to be able to get your money back out of this, even though it'll probably take some time, but you still got to have money coming in. And see, the last couple of years, I haven't been making shit. So that's why I'm kind of not focusing on the farm as much. Now, I've been focusing on the tractor, the grain truck, but those are all just tinker toys. And those are things that I do want to keep and I do want to fix up and get them fully functional. So and those are things I'm going to take with me. Even if I did move far, far away from here and I no longer ranch, I'd probably still take those things with me. I might as well have something. So, but, I haven't bought any parts for any of these vehicles or, for the grain truck or the tractor yet since winter hit, because I'm trying to get the Tahoe done, and I guess I need it, and then I got to get Big Red in the shop. I need him. So these are all priority. The farm is not really priority right now because the farm has not made me any money. I've invested a lot of money towards that farm in the last couple of years, and I've gotten nothing back. And that's what's disappointing is I've been sinking money into it, and I haven't seen any money come back yet out of it. And I would have gotten that out of cabs. So, but I got to get my stuff fixed up now because, it's no good to me the way it is. And then I have to, sometime before fall of 23, I got to get a hold of a plumber, some kind of a plumber, and see if I can have the main drain line lined. Because there is a crack in it, and it is leaking into my basement. Yesterday, Mother was cleaning some stuff out, and it at the time the sewer tank was full, and I have to keep draining it at least every week or two to not flood my basement in the wintertime. In the summertime, I don't have to do shit because it'll just leak into the ground, but in the wintertime, the ground freezes up, and I have to take it out myself. So, but since I didn't really plan on doing it until the weekend, I guess Mother didn't really think much of it. And then she decided to start cleaning crap or whatever, and she was running the water hardcore. Literally flooded the north end of my basement. So, yeah. So I had to pump the tank out, suck the water out of the basement with the shot vac, and then put a bunch of fans on it to start getting this shit to dry out as quickly as possible because the water was very soapy smelling, and I knew that probably would make my cats sick because they spend the night down there in the basement. So I had to air it out as quickly as I can. I had to get things as dry as get things to dry as quickly as possible so they could go down there and not get sick. So I had a very bad day yesterday. So everything was going wrong, everything was breaking, falling apart, and I can see now why people start drinking or smoking cigarettes. I need to take up one of them because I've about had enough of this crap for, it's been a very long, dreadful winter, and I'm already tired of it, and I just, so, but if I could get the pipe lined, that's not a permanent solution, that's only a temporary solution, but I've heard that they can last up to 15 years having that pipe lined. And I would only need it, for, about half of that. So, but at some point, I'm going to have to get a whole new septic system put in and a pipe and, to stop this fucking leaking bullshit. I'm so tired of it. So, But that costs big money too, especially when you got to hire the damn pros to do it. Over in North Dakota, you don't have to. You can do it yourself. You just got to follow certain rules and you're good. Here in Minnesota, you got to have permits, contractors. It's all got to be done legally. I just can't go buy an excavator and go do it myself. I can't do that. So, which I think is bullshit. I should be allowed to. Yes, there are still some certain rules that I should follow, which I would do anyway because it only makes freaking common sense. Yes, the pipe needs to be on a slight slope so nothing can sit in the pipe and freeze up and jam up and whatever. I get that, you know. So, but yeah. So, but that's all going to take time. And then the house, of course, my house needs a new roof, obviously, too. That's all going to cost big fucking money. But I just have so many things on my plate, I can't win. So, that's why I haven't been investing any money towards like tools or two-way radios. I want to get those things finished, you know, and get the Tahoe finished and stuff like that. I can't. I have to pick one thing at a time and take all my money. So right now the Tahoe is priority number one. I need to get it done. It needs to get sent in to figure out why the check engine light is on. I think it's just a sensor, but whatever. It still needs to be checked out by a damn computer because it won't tell me. And then once I get the Tahoe done, and then get the airbags replaced, get all that done, Big Red, I gotta start saving up money for Big Red. And I gotta get Big Red in the shop. So, but yeah, it's gonna be another stressful year. I can already see it because going into 23, it was kind of rough. So, but that's typical. But what are you gonna do? Just take one thing at a time and focus on it. So, but I still plan on hooking the little tractor up to the cultivator. I'm gonna bring the cultivator here into the shop. I got a tine that I gotta put on because my other one's busted. I got one that's busted and I haven't fixed it yet, and that's the one that's going to replace that broken one. So gotta get that done, and then gotta start working up the gardens so we can plant. So, but yeah, anyways, I figured I'd just show you guys that picture of the town back in 1954. Just kind of how interesting it is. It's, you know, just to see how things have changed since then. And then if we could find a picture even further back, it would have been even cooler. But yeah, town has definitely changed. Definitely has. Not much for the better, but it's definitely gone downhill. But I don't know. To get things done in this town, you know, like if you wanted to have a landmark, which I think would be the school, yeah, you're talking $100,000 probably just to rebuild it, because you want to make sure the foundation's good and everything, right? So, you know, yeah, it'd be a big job, but, you know, it'd be a good landmark too, you know, to show, hey, this is town history. You could put a sign on the building saying when the school was built and when it closed and how many people went to the school and so on, you know, it'd just be a good little landmark. So, but whatever, lots of great history there, and history lost also to time, unfortunately. You know, like the barn at our place, you know, that would have been a good history thing. Everybody's like, oh, well, you got the land. Yeah, but you know, it's not only just the land, it's what's sitting on the land that also should mean something to you. Now, like the grain truck and the tractor, they mean a great deal to me because they belong to the great-grandparents, and I want to bring them back from the dead. And that's what I did. I brought them back from the dead. So I got the tractor running, I got the truck running. Now to restore them, or at least enough that I can use them. The barn, I think the barn's a complete loss. I don't think you can ever save it. It would cost way too much to try to save it. Even though I would like to, because then you could put it back to the way it was when the great-grandparents had it. And then you could just, you know, use it again. So, and then we got a freaking truck here now. That's great news. So, but yeah, anyways, guys, I guess I'm going to take off. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a history lesson there. And, yeah, so at least you guys could, like I said, I'll have to edit those pictures to kind of show, you know, my land and then the farmland and the old bridge and like I said, he won't see the new bridge though, because obviously that wasn't put in until like the 80s or whatever. So, yeah, but you don't see that half of the land anyway. It's cut off in the picture, so you only kind of see this half of town. So, but it's still nice because it shows where my house was at. Wasn't there back then, but it is now. So it's kind of a cool little history thing there, I guess. So, but yeah, anyways, guys, I guess I'm gonna take off. So I guess have a good day and stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Take her easy.